Today, we're looking at a green ink by Atramentis Black Green. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so that if you're in a hurry, you can skip around. But if you got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. You can also follow me over on Instagram, and if you're new here, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this cross Bailey with a medium nib. I wrote with it for a day. I then used it to take my notes for this video. In order to standardize some of my writing samples, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper for all of the inks. I do use other papers, and some of those will show up later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it comes in a tube something like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no real shading. There's some lighter areas. The middle of black is a little bit lighter than the rest of the words. There is some shading there. It's not very pronounced. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, a lot of very nice shading. It's one of the reasons I like green inks. Dark on the Q, light through the middle, dark on the K. Brown starts dark, gets light, gets dark on the N again. Fox is light up top, dark down bottom, light into the O, dark into the X. Beautiful. 10 seconds to dry. Medium, a little bit darker than the extra fine, nowhere near as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, but no real shading here. That little bit darker than the extra fine made us lose the shading. Now the 16 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine shows us plenty of color variation, and we get plenty. Scrubby of the medium shows us none, and we got none. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine, quite a bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen. Some good shade spots. The K in Quicker is much darker. The X in Fox is much darker. The ER in Over is darker than the rest of that word. So it does offer some decent shading spots in the writing. 14 seconds to dry. Just as before, Over is darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no real shading in the writing. 22 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show us no color variation, although the extra fine does get some in the writing. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a lot lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, but very good shading again. Quick starts dark, gets light, gets very dark. Brown starts dark, gets light, gets dark on the N again. Fox starts as a midtone, gets light, gets dark. 11 seconds to dry. The medium, as we've seen before, is darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub. The medium has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shading. 17 seconds to dry. Now the far left to far right in the extra fine, we do see some color variation, but it's much better up here. The medium shows us none, and a writing sample gave us none. I agree with Vita. I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this grayish tone at the bottom. It's like a gray-green-ish tone that pushes its way up, and then we see a more vibrant green across the top. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water, and that grayish-green tone we really see there in the bottom holding in place, and then it pushes up a little bit, not a lot, but then we get that nice vibrant green that was at the top. It does make me feel that there's going to be a little bit of hold on here with that grayish-green tone. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, that green that was willing to move in the second chromatography is still very willing to move. I wouldn't use this in a note-taking situation because the G, the loop of it is almost going away and the lowercase h completely blurred out. So I wouldn't use it if I wanted to go back and highlight my notes. Looking at the water, we see that the darker green is gone, but the gray is still very much there. That grayish green tone, very much there and not budging. We have the same problem when it comes to pen flush. It's really not getting rid of it. Now it's only 30 seconds, but it doesn't show me the hint that the pen flush is going to do everything needed to get this off and away. The 1/3 bleach solution, in only 30 seconds, completely obliterates it, takes it entirely off the page. Slight bit of yellow staining on the paper. But if you use that, you use it quickly, you see that only 30 seconds made it go away, then flush your pen with water so you don't rust your metal bits. Good advice for the Tin Man. I test viscosity or flow with a tilt test that I'll link the video on how I do that. Now for the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. The Atramentis Black Green has a viscosity of 2.45, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average those. Now for the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. The Atramentis Black Green has an average dry time of 15 seconds, making it again normal. Instead of finding inks that look like the Atramentis Black Green, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. And I like putting orange with green, so I chose Krishna's Goldfish. The second writing sample is done on Life, Viscosity, and Franklin-Christoph paper. Here we're looking at Life paper. Now Life paper gives us no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine, quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading throughout. Quick starts dark gets much lighter, gets very dark to mid-tone to very dark. Beautiful. Brown starts dark, gets light in the end, gets much darker again. So there's a lot of very nice back and forth on this shading here. With 8 seconds to dry, super manageable. The extra fine is darker than the medium is darker than the extra fine. About the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. 12 seconds to dry. The extra fine shows some color variation, looking far left to far right. The medium shows none, and that's how it went with the writing sample. Apica CD notebooks. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and it does offer quite a bit of very nice shading. You see on the Atramentis, it starts darker, gets lighter on the A through, and then gets much darker on the tis at the end. The extra fine is slightly lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading. Brown starts dark, gets light, gets dark on the end. Fox is lighter on the top of the F, darker on the bottom of the F, lighter into the O, dark on the X. Gorgeous shading all the way through this writing. 5 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the stub. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. 8 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us color variation. The medium's much slighter. Now the medium didn't show any in the writing, and the extra fine, absolutely. Last up, Franklin-Christoph paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, and some very nice shading. And it's a more absorbent paper, so we don't always get that. But the he of the is darker than the T. Q in quick is darker than the rest of the word. It goes dark to light to dark at the I, and then it stays dark. Brown starts dark and gets light. Fox starts lighter and gets darker. Nice. And 4 seconds to dry. Now the medium is darker than the extra fine. It's quite a bit darker than that, a little bit darker than the stub. The medium has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. 6 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine, far left to far right, shows some color variation. The medium shows even more, but we didn't get any in the medium writing, but we got plenty in the extra fine writing, and that is all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of Atramentis Black Green? This gives me what I like in green inks. Very nice tone, very nice shading. This could be the ink to change people's minds that don't care for green inks. It will be like the kryptonite to green ink haters. What nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? For me, I go with the stub nib. It absolutely looks fantastic. Medium flow pen. Although in reality, this is dealer's choice. It looks good all the time. If you've enjoyed this video, remember, I like thumbs up, you like thumbs up, everybody likes thumbs up. Unless you didn't like it, then give me the thumbs down. Both are good. Thanks for watching.